Is
This
that?
is story of our lives.
Yeah.
Look, we're totally professional over here, right? We totally got everything, ready to go. Oh, come on, let's.
It's like when fly.
Yeah, sorry, we'll be back. We're back in a sec. I don't even know.
It
Are we
literally
going?
says we're streaming.
Oh, here we go. We're back up. There we go.
There we go.
It's up.
Jeez.
It's up. We're back.
Christ.
We're back. Sorry, everybody. We had some technical issues there, but we're back now. Totally professional down here.
Let's
This is
hit that
great.
next segment again.
Let's hear it for
Far
us.
out.
Let's hear it for Australian internet, everybody.
Yay!
Yay! Wait. Let's give it the applause it really deserves.
Yes.
That's the Liberals NBN for you.
What the fuck is the internet?
All right. Anyway, let's hit the
hit that
segment and let's do it
again.
for real.
There it is.
Here we go.
Now my fucking thing don't want to work. Here we go.
Oh no, it's doing it again.
Come on, if you want to fight. Oh, come on then.
Get in the
Are
bin.
you enjoying the weather there, mate? What? Are you enjoying the weather there? What are you talking about?
Savage.
All right. So, welcome to Get in the Bin. Used to be known by a different name, but that's fine. Basically, the whole idea of this segment is we want to know that if Lexi had all the power in the world, she had the Infinity Gauntlet, if you can see it up there, it's behind a bunch of stuff, the Infinity Gauntlet with all the stones and could just, snap her fingers, what would you eliminate from the music industry and why? Give me 3 things. What was your first one?
Or, the business side of music. I think it's tarnished, cheap, doesn't look after musicians, doesn't support the arts properly. I think the business is outdated, and
Even when they moved into a new model, they found a new way to rip off musicians.
I don't think it's ever been really supportive. As time goes on, it's becoming less and less relevant anyway. So people who play under that guise of still feeling like they can, or they offer something, and that offering is less than satisfactory, and it's still just taking the piss. And I don't think the regular folk, because I was a regular folk until the age of 30 when I started doing this, realize how much time, passion, money, energy, commitment that goes in from everyone that does this, and when you get people that exploit that, it's just fucking wrong, there's no two ways about it. It has no place. I think we should call them out more, because at the end of the day, I don't know about the Australian internet, but the internet and connecting in our local music communities gets us further than people taking your money and offering you very fucking little for it, it's a bit of a farce.
I saw something the other day that was apparently labels are now basically not keen on streaming because they're not making enough. They claim they're not making enough money from it, or they're not making any money from it.
Someone's fucking making money off
Publishers, publishers,
but the thing is, it's these are the companies that pushed this model. These are the companies that said, yeah, everything's going streaming. We have to go streaming, and they've killed the physical media industry. And now it turns out that all of that has just shot themselves in the foot. And it's for better or worse. Obviously we talked at length on here before about the both advantages and disadvantages of streaming availability. But I had to laugh. The Schadenfreude of it is amazing. These companies are the ones that push the streaming model, and it's like we said. It's like you said. It's the business side of it. It's the if you could take the capitalism out of music, it'd be that much better for
Yeah.
everybody.
And it goes without saying, that rorting and exploitation and bullshit happens, not just at the larger, the larger tier. It's on our ground level. There are people within our local music community that persistently rip off, exploit, and undermine the very thing that we dedicate all this time and energy to. And I think most of us, if you really got down to the nitty fucking gritty of it, would do this for free, you know? And we often are doing it for free. So when you have people, you know, just being fucking slack or
Taking advantage of the situation.
it is taking advantage, and I really have no time for it.
Well, it's just I always think like there's no, if you just consider the business side of music, there's no other industry that's had its main commodity devalued as much as music has over however long. Like everyone else's has probably gone up, but I mean like the actual physical music, the thing that costs the most to make, takes the most time and effort to put into, it's the thing that's being totally devalued over everything. Not by the punters or the consumers at all, but from the business angle, it's almost like it's worthless.
And that's a key word. Devalued is the thing. And I've literally said that same thing, but so many times in the past, that the advent of streaming and the fact that it's like people can access it for free with limited feature sets, and if they listen to ads and whatnot, it's devalued music in the mind of the consumer to the point where it's like they expect music for free.
Yeah, it's
They
changed
expect
how
it to be free, and if they can't get
how they consume.
yeah, and they can't, if they can't get the music for free, they're like, well, why would I get it? Why would I spend $15 on an album when I've got all the music to be ever made in the world in my fucking phone? And
Because your phone speakers are shit.
It's that's what I mean.
Amen.
Like it's devaluing. Devaluing is exactly the right word. And I actually saw a TikTok the other day from a guy that is like in sound production. He like records bands. He's a mixing engineer, producer, that sort of thing. And he said music's one of the only industries where there's more value in everything around music, like around the thing, than in the thing. There's so much more value in everything around music, in
Product placement and
product placement, like the
what you're
promotion.
wearing. And,
The promotion of music, live touring, merch sales, making music, like production side of it, that all gains more money than the music itself.
Yeah.
Which is just fucking bizarre. Like what other industry does that happen in?
Yeah, exactly.
You know
And once upon a time, I guess, when there was more value in the commodity of music, you probably could afford to go and like pay other people to get all the stuff done. But I don't know, the return is just not there on it. Like we never went out and spent a bunch of money on a high-end studio or anything. We sort of took that money, got some gear, and then just worked really fucking hard at trying to make it work for us, because then at least at the end of that, we've got the gear and we know how to use it. So,
and then you're never limited to having to wait. Oh, we're going to go into the studio to record.
Yeah,
as soon
like
as you
when
got a mad idea, you can get it going.
Yeah, and it's like the industry is just it's so dynamic. You don't know where it's going to go, how it's going to be. Like someone who's a huge artist could put out an album, but it might be shit.
Well, I mean, it'd be a really
can't set your watch to it.
It'd be a really good social experiment to see it on the other end, right? Talking about what we were talking about. To see a band, or not even a band, think of it as a complete social experiment. Present themselves as a band, have no music, do all the other ends of the business or but the music, and see how far they could get.
But that's like people doing like going to Coachella and making up fake band names that are and being like, "Are you excited to see Goozle Glop this weekend, and people are like, "Oh yeah." I'm really. That's one of the main reasons I came to the thing. It's like, you know, it's like, yeah, the social experiments is real, and people are on that shit for the trend so much.
Didn't some guy create a whole festival on an island? What was that?
Fire Fest.
They're redoing
You know,
it.
he's
They're
doing number
part
two. He's going number two.
going
They're trying
again.
to make it happen again. This is going to be crazy.
Amazing.
I look forward to watching the Dumpster Fire Fest.
Yeah, he's
I hope Ja Rule is playing.
Oh, he didn't even show up.
Anyway, getting back on track. So the music business, yeah, like I 100%.
Yeah,
Yeah,
we do agree.
What's the next thing that you would fuck off out of music? Because you kind of took out like a big chunk of it right there.
Yeah,
so
sorry.
I'm curious what the other ones might be.
It's like half, isn't it?
And to be fair, this can be punters, this can be venues.
It's
this
like
can be
big or
anything,
small, whatever
big
you
or
whatever you
small.
want, really.
Look, I've let a lot of this shit go over the last few years where I'm just probably in a different space. I'm not as angry about certain things.
You can
not
get
as
angry on here.
Not as triggered per se, but I didn't like, and this isn't popular opinion, I didn't like a lot of the conversation around gender and women in music during the time that it was sort of, there were big conversations about women being properly represented in music. I don't like my gender coming into my music, and I don't like the tokenism of being given opportunities because some venue or promoter is trying to meet a quota so that they can then say we have this many female acts alongside this many male acts. It really pissed me off. I saw an interview in the early days of Ocean Grove being persecuted by somebody because one of the members of that band stated that he didn't think gender should come into the topic of music, and I agree. I understand that people are trying to encourage support of women in the arts, but we are in the arts, and it just feels tokenistic to me, and it devalues my merit of earning my journey to be good enough to be selected for an opportunity, if that makes sense.
It does.
Okay. So on that then, so, you know, I mean, while we're talking about that, you've kind of taken down this road there. I thought I might as well get your opinion then. I don't know if you've seen it or not. Someone did a thing of the Good Things lineup, and they took out every band that didn't have a woman in it. And like this is a Good Things lineup if you only include bands that have at least one woman in them, and it's like a half a dozen bands, and they're all generally a bit lower down on the bill there. So with what you've just kind of mentioned there, I'm like curious to get your thoughts on that kind of stuff. I'm getting the sense that you're like, it doesn't fucking matter. Like the bands that are on there have earned their place on there.
I think you could say that people will become outraged that we don't support female sport players and whatever, but no one goes to the fucking games. You know what I mean? Like, I don't want my gender to be a part of the conversation of my music. You're either just people like your fucking music or they don't.
Yes.
They might like a female voice or they're not into it. I just think it's the one place where I get to just be and it's, in my opinion's only my own, and my opinion based on my experience. I've had a very positive experience around males in our music community. The one time that I got groped at a show was from a woman at a festival. She thought I had a really nice backside. I've not come up against, I don't know if I scare people when I'm on stage or what, but I just haven't had those experiences of, and I'm not trying to devalue other people's experiences, but I just like to participate as a as a person. And I find the gender topic can just sully that for me, because then I start to question, am I good, or did you just need a girl band so that you don't get ridiculed online? Because it doesn't feel good to me. I question. I just
It's a
want to
very
be
valid
like,
point.
And
are we good enough?
This comes to the end of the point. We had a guest on here a couple of months ago, Daniel Ash from Tensions Arise, and he actually brought up a really good point. And we've never seen it from this perspective before. We always used to say female-fronted band.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do we say that? It's just it's just a band.
It's what
Like,
we're forever running from, aren't we?
Mm.
Yeah,
Like, and it's we've tried to stop
doing
using that term. We've tried to stop using that
you can't
term.
use your
once
and
we
it's
became
rightly
aware of
so.
it,
You cannot use the gender as a promotional tool.
Yeah, and you're doomed
The
if you
music
do.
needs to be
You're doomed if you don't, because some people get offended that you didn't mention that. And it's a really unusual time that we're in. I just know that I grew up listening to very powerful female vocalists, you know, Annie Lennox and Hart and you know, Big Pig and all those. The women have been in the music since the dawn of time. They haven't always been properly financially compensated. Having children comes into play, because touring and stuff like that, suddenly there's issues. But there are women in music. There are women, Patti Smith, you know, like they've done some phenomenal things. And I just think, if you want to get in the gender debate, just go out and support the music in general. Like, I just think,
I think the big problem is that heavy alternative music for a very, very, very long time, especially in the heavy metal sort of space and punk and grunge, was very dominated by men. It was the boys' club, you know. And look, it's how it was. You have a look at all the big bands back, say the 80s and the 90s. A lot of those bigger bands, collective bands, were men. There were and it was dominated by it. It's only sort of been in the last.
Why was it men?
I don't know.
Is it just because I've worked in a music studio for several years, and I can't deny the statistics of the people walking in with the instruments, and the reality is more men walk in than women for the heavy music, and there's nothing stopping. Like, we're pretty free to do as we like now. Maybe it starts from a younger age where that's not marketed to us in the same way, but
I do think that's a key part of it. I do. I think that comes down to society's view on gender roles and where, you know,
Barbie and blocks, you know,
the types of music that women should like versus, you know, what's traditionally seen as men's types of music, which, you know, heavy metal generally has been. I mean, we've had, you know, who was it? We had Viper Snatch on here a while ago, and they were saying, like, they've played shows that, and they've literally had bands of, you know, usually middle-aged dudes that are mainly weekend warriors, like, throw fucking tantrums and refuse to play after the girl band, you know. And the fact that attitudes like that exist, I think that to me is why there is a need to some degree to shine a light on just how talented a lot of these women are, because there is definitely a sense that it's underrepresented, and there's still people in the business that view bands with women in them as lesser or not on the same level or with it. And that's not to say, like, obviously that's only speaking through my lens and my experience that I've had there, and I might be, you know, and that's not to say that other people's views on it are wrong either. You know, I just, from what I've seen, there's still a bit of that attitude from people, which is why we like to try and at least to ensure that we're having bands that do have a bit of representation on there, just to try and avoid our, you know, and maybe it's overcorrecting for an inherent, you know, a bias that we're worried about seeming biased, so we're going too far the other way. You know, I don't know about that, you know, and it's coming from a good place, but I just there's so many layers to it.
It's so complex.
And I feel like it's you know, if I was to reduce it all, I'm just like, get out of my way and let me, you know, I don't want my vagina in the conversation. I want my art in the conversation, and I just happen to be female. It is what it is. I just want to get on and play, and
A lot of that probably comes under the umbrella of this question as well. Like
yeah, it's
a lot of the gender
business,
thing
and
is business moves and business calls.
yeah, but let's call a spade a spade. The thing that sells more than anything, anywhere, at any time, in any age or demographic, is sex.
Yep.
It is always
Hit
sex.
the nail on the head.
So I feel like as a female artist, in the we have a saturated market of musicians all trying to get somewhere and do something. We have advantage. I would feel like, sex sells. Like if you want to play that card out, it does, and I feel like that is distinct advantage in a society where sex is marketed very heavily to us from quite an early age. Yeah, and all you know what I mean. I just think, from my personal experience, it can come across as tokenistic, and I just prefer not to have the conversation about gender. Let's just get on and make some good music. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I feel like as the local support and in the community, I've had very positive experience in a male-dominated genre. I've had great experience. I feel like very supported and seen, and yeah, I don't have anything negative to say in that light.
That's awesome.
So
That's a good thing.
yeah,
That's great.
it is a good thing. It's just getting on with it,
Yeah.
It really makes me happy to hear that, because I know, like, even 10 years ago, there was still. I mean, it is obviously getting a lot better than it was in the past. But like even 10 years ago, like, I mean, fucking 15 years ago, I had that fucking shitty attitude about it.
Yeah.
15 years ago, I was the guy that was like, oh yeah, check out this fucking band with the chicks in, like, okay. And I'm a fucking dickhead for being like, for thinking that, like I've grown and matured since then.
I think we all have those stereotypes. Like, I'm sure when we hit the stage, people are like, okay, here comes Evanescence 3.0 or whatever, like it does, it gets said, it gets, they kind of have got you pegged before you've come out, and it's always fun. Yeah, let's mix it up. And I think the attitudes change, and it's okay that we've had attitudes that maybe are not as evolved as they could be. We get on with it, and we go, oh, I was probably thinking a bit small-minded, and maybe my take on it is at the moment small-minded, because I know that in a world view there's a lot of issues with women's place and having a voice and the rest of it. But I just feel like it's good to reiterate that music doesn't carry gender. It carries our expression and art, and it's
and look, and that's incredible, and I'm so glad that you're able to feel that way and express that and have that view about it, because that's your view and your reality. So never like question the validity of that. Never question, like, because that is your experience, and that's 100%. That's 100% real. That is all
any of us can speak of is our experiences.
Okay, so that's really cool. This is great. I'm really loving this. This is some good ones.
This is therapy.
All right, have you got and look, this is the thing. Like, we could go on whole other tangents about these topics, and some of them are very, very complex, as you rightly pointed out. But okay, so what's your third one? What's your third thing that you would, get in the bin? You would throw in the bin?
It probably ties back into the business side of it, but I find it a little sad at the way that we've become more the bigger picture at play, quite risk adverse, and you see this across all art forms, but just adverse to getting behind different sounding things. I think it's a particular bone of contention for lots of artists who are being honest with their expression, and sort of that makes it harder, I think. And I've also seen over the years people sound change, and not necessarily for the better. They come out with a really unique, strong sound. They don't get any support. They don't get any headway, and they're doing all the right things, paying all the right people, and doing all the live shows and everything. And they end up sort of taking stock and seeing what is being supported and represented. And then they start to make music that sounds exactly like everything else. And it's not the artist's fault. They're trying to find an inlet. And I feel like that's in our radio, it's in our media, it's in lots of things where it's in the movies. That's why we have 50,000 comic book remakes and Willy Wonka, I don't know, 7 versions of whatever.
To be
you
fair,
know,
the best comic book remake to date is and I'm fucking standing by this. I've only watched one episode. Is the new One Piece live action, and it is the fucking greatest thing known to man. Fight me.
Oh,
I'll fucking
I won't
take
fight you.
I'll fucking take it.
I don't know.
You want the best comic book? Oh my god!
I won't fight you.
Do you think though? Because something I've found, like I understand what you're saying, and I get where you're coming from with it. Do you think that in some cases that could be though a situation rather of them sort of becoming, I guess, more mainstream or more generic, that, you know, a band on a maybe not so much on a small scale, but on like a larger level, right? You might have a band that'll come out and they'll go gangbusters with a very unique sound. Like you'll have a sound, it's like that's them. No one else sounds like that. And by the time they've pumped a few albums out, it starts to sound a bit more generic because the band's dialed in their sound and they've kind of found their formula. Like I found that, like Lamb of God, the first sort of 5 or 6 Lamb of God albums, fucking brilliant. Everything they've done since just all sounds like a mush of the same stuff to me. Same Machine Head and a bunch of other bands, but also a factor of the mainstream or the rest of the genre going, hey, we really like what they're doing, we're going to do some of that. And then rather than the band changing to mold into the mainstream, the band's there and they're doing their thing, and the mainstream kind of goes, all right, well, we're going to start enveloping that because we like what they're doing and they're popular for doing that, so we're going to do that too. And I know it's probably a case of both circumstances happening, but
Deftones are a good example of that, aren't they? Like how they were a part of that new metal thing. Like at the start there was Korn, and then there was Limp Bizkit, and then there was a million fucking
And then there was
Deftones. Deftones were putting them, and then when everyone else was dropping like their third new metal album, they went and did White Pony.
Oh,
and then they were just, everyone was like, holy fuck, this is so different.
and they really cemented themselves as a proper alternative band.
Yeah. But then
they
you look at the numbers. Then you look at the numbers on that as well, though, and you're like, okay, well, from a commercial standpoint, at least, you're like, which of those bands had the most commercial success? Cool. And it becomes the bands that it's not Deftones. Deftones are amazingly talented, and I'm taking absolutely nothing away from them. But you're like, you look at the bands that came out of that era, and financially, Deftones didn't come out of it the same way as your Korns, your Limp Bizkits, your Slipknots, all these bands.
Deftones were the most consistent.
But well, there you go. Like, and maybe they retained a certain element of creative integrity that the other bands didn't. Like, I don't know. I wasn't part of that process. So I don't feel I can speak to that, the creative integrity of it necessarily. But I'm just sort of looking at like why this band that is such a, like, their cult following is just as strong as any of these other bands, but their broader appeal kind of didn't catch on in the same way. But it's such a challenge. It's such a challenge. I mean, you could analyze the minutiae of these things all day, every day, and still never get to the answer.
Because the thing is, like, Deftones come out to Australia, they're pretty much selling out and close to selling out all the venues they're playing, and they're playing decent venues, Horden Pavilion, stuff like that. The cult following they have in Australia is just oof. And everywhere else. The only thing I just love seeing them play every time I'm that asshole in the crowd at Deftones show going, 7, play 7. Chino's looking at you going, shut the fuck up.
I think Yeah, I don't know. I think there is a bit of a look back, I suppose, on 90s nostalgia and stuff at the moment. It's sort of sat in the 80s for a little while, but now I notice that kids are sort of looking at what was going on in the 90s. And I think,
The 90s nostalgia is real. It
yeah, and
is.
I
All
feel
it's all
like it
coming
was
back.
very,
Story of my life.
what an interesting era of, I just recall being able to, turn on the Saturday Morning Rage or whatever, and it was such a mixed bag of wild.
Mm-hmm.
That's why our shit's weird, because we're
Yeah.
byproducts of this, and I think
It was so distilled too.
It's
Like,
the MTV
Yeah.
generation. That's all we
Well,
are.
yeah.
They say it's a 25. They say it's a 25-year
Yeah.
cycle, right? And
Yeah.
25 years ago, that was the late 90s. That's when
Yeah.
new metal was the thing. Like,
Oh,
man.
and you got
You look
Mudvayne and
up-
Cold Chamber touring next year. Like, oh my god, that's sealed it, man. Like the
that's crazy.
new metal is back, and new metal. When I say new metal, I mean all those bands that were alternative and that massive explosion of different sounding metal and rock bands that came out through that time. Because it's back and people are embracing all of that again.
I still
Yeah.
reckon COVID had a lot to do with it, where a lot of kids would have been going through mum and dad's CDs when they were probably doing clean outs of the house and stuff like that. And maybe
it's actually surprised me, some of the bands that have returned. Like, I was like, really? They're like Papa Roach and stuff. I was a bit like, really, they're back and bigger than and often bigger than they ever were.
Yeah,
It just
they're huge. They're huge.
it's just interesting. Interesting what's been brought back out of obscurity, I suppose. But I feel like I don't know. I'd like to. I like being open to hearing all the new stuff and different things, and I think it's just sterilized a little bit at the moment. But our people's consumption habits and how they consume things and their attention spans, like we're all goldfish. It really blows my mind that you can have a world event like a war breakout, or one moment that comes to mind is when they're removing troops out of Afghanistan, and they're the plane was on the tarmac and the people were crawling all over the plane, and I'm like, this is some shocking shit. And everybody was speaking about this for like 2 days, and then it's something else, and we're all bombarded all the
Yeah,
time.
it's like, did you see this new TikTok?
Yeah, it's our attention spans are fleeting, and as artists we have to kind of work out how do we try and capture the attention. How much effort is it going to, what sort of video do we have to make to keep people to stay for the whole video? Like, I don't know what that looks like, but
let
I
me
know
tell
we
you.
definitely don't have the budget for it,
Let me tell you, like Skunkbone was working for a little while with an agency from the UK that was sort of helping us to look at our social media stuff and be like, oh, we'll kind of tee up these posts and I need you guys to do this kind of stuff and thinking about this. And again, this is something we've talked about a fair bit of, like, artists need to be like social media people these days. You have to be content creators, which takes away from being an artist. And it's like, you kind of have to make that decision. Like, if I want to try and get anywhere with it and really make a living off of it, I have to be this content creator. I have to learn how to be a social media fucking, expert and run all this stuff and be on top of all the trends and everything like that. And it's like, I'm too fucking tired. Just let me just do my music.
That's what I'm
and
saying
be
about the
done with
social
it.
experiment. Just make yourself look like a band, do all the posts, don't write any music, play that game.
Well, we had one of those moments where I was just like, I don't like this game, and I don't want to give it any more energy around the COVID time. And we're not big posters on social media. I think I made the decision, fuck that. It's too much. Like, if you really look at what has to go in to keep that thing in
Algorithm.
the air, yeah, it's you can't be an artist and dedicate that much time to social media. I don't know where you find the time to do everything. Like,
Especially when you got to go work somewhere else to pay for it all.
yeah,
Yeah,
like,
full
You know,
time
like-
job, second
like-
full time job being an artist, and then
Yeah.
you're also expected to have a full time job as a social media manager.
Yeah.
I
Let's
really,
come up with an extra 30 hours a week. No way.
And sleep.
yeah,
Yeah.
I think I really had a moment not too long ago, actually, where you're just sort of deciding, just having a moment. Do I want to still do this? Does it matter? Like, is anyone fucking listening? You know, it's that kind of just checking in with yourself. And I do still want to do it, but I'm really,
You have to
I
do
don't
it
know.
on your terms.
yeah, I find it pretty, I don't know, knee jerk when I think of playing the social media role. So, and then then you sort of have that question of the honesty behind all of it anyway. It's like all social media. It feels very,
It's fake.
yeah.
Yeah.
A lot
And
of
then
it's fake.
I was like,
Yeah.
what matters then? What matters in your art? I was like, holy shit, it's just live. Really, when you undo all the tapestry and examine, I'm like, that's where you can be your most honest. That's where you can connect with people like properly. And that is what I found, had the epiphany that really matters to me now. And it's not becoming big or anything like that. It was just having that honest interaction with people. And yeah,
I wish we could go back to
That's
the good
awesome.
old days, you know, when it was like the album would come out, the band would be around for a couple of years, and then you'd be waiting, and you're like, when's it coming out?
yeah.
When's
Yeah.
their DVD or their VCR coming out where we get to see what happened during this? And that's all you got.
But there
Yeah.
is
And someone
romance.
else filmed it, and that was it. And you had to wait, and you had to be in the know or know the guy in the CD store, and
Totally.
you'd be like, man, this is coming in soon. Do you want me to put one aside?
There is romance in anticipation and in not having everything delivered now. You know,
Yeah.
there is something, you know.
I like that the
It's
artist
like-
used to be able to choose what the punters.
Yeah.
To
got
some
from
degree,
that.
to some degree. But at the same time,
You know?
that's where record labels have a big part in making industry what it is. Like, because it takes a big thing to be able to find a band and go, these guys are going to take over the world. Could you imagine being the person that found Queen?
Oh yeah, but I
Yeah,
think
but
that's
they
the thing
tried
with
to kill 'em.
labels. Labels once upon a time were actual tastemakers, which is why like Sub Pop. When you think about Sub Pop, like they
Yeah.
were tastemakers, and people would go to see what the new band that Sub Pop signed because Sub Pop signed them, not for
Yes.
any other reason. But now, that's it's not. Or it's almost
Who
not a
are
thing.
our tastemakers?
Aside from like those independent labels we mentioned before, like in the UK, those little ones that have like a catalog that's ridiculous and just concentrated. But I don't know. I just
think the
I just
worst
think they used to be this thing, and then we stayed on the path, and everything else changed, and now they're still there going, "Hey, we're still relevant,"
Yeah.
but
It's
they're
like,
not anymore. They're not.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
And now they're
So
complaining that
what
they're
do
not
they
making enough
do?
money.
Yeah, and this is the thing. Like it's like so much of society. Like the whole thing needs a massive overhaul at this point.
Yeah.
Well, look, that's let's take it home. I think because look, we could if we let this keep going,
We're
we could
gonna
keep
have to
talking
have
probably
you
for
on
another
again
2
because-
We'll
hours.
just start another podcast.
We're gonna have to have
Yeah.
these on again and just like
Absolutely,
no questions,
absolutely.
no segments. Just let's just converse.
Let's just jam. Let's just just vamp and talk shit. and see
Four
what
idiots talk shit.
happens. Yes, I like that.
special
I
episode.
like that.
2 times
Yep.
2 talk shit.
All right, so look, let's take it home. Let's bring it back to the New Metal Mayhem tour. So, if you haven't got your tickets yet, don't waste your time waiting any longer. You need to go out and get them. I'll just run down these cities again for you. So, October 11th is where it kicks off. That is in Sydney at Crowbar. Then it goes to Adelaide, Enigma Bar on the 12th of October. Bendigo, not at Bendigo, but at the Bendigo pub in Melbourne on the 13th of October. That's Friday the 13th, ladies and gentlemen. I have said it's sold out. I think it's sold out. just double check that. If you still want tickets, maybe go and look for them. Maybe hit up some of the other bands that are on the show. You might be able to get some still. Then we get to October 14th at Mansfield Tavern in Brisbane. That is, I believe, the biggest show of the tour. It's 8 bands. It's a massive fucking venue. But a lot of tickets are still going for it. So if you haven't got them, go get them. 15th of October at Moe's Desert Clubhouse on the Gold Coast. 16th of October at the Irish Club in Toowoomba. Then you all get a day off. Yay!
To get on a plane.
To get on a plane and fly to fucking New
Yeah,
Zealand. And where it goes the next one. So, going across the pond, we get October 18th in Auckland. 19th in Taranaki. I'm sorry if I'm pronouncing some of these wrong, by the way, to any Kiwis that may be watching. 20th in Wellington. 21st in Christchurch. 22nd in Queenstown. And 23rd in Dunedin. There is also some VIPs available for some of these shows. If you go to newmetalmayhem.com, it'll have links to all the stuff. It's numetalmayhem.com. It's got all the links. It's got all the tickets that you can get. Head out and get them there
You can
now.
also go on the Chaosis Facebook page and you'll be able to find all the stuff on there.
Yep.
Or any of the bands that are playing Sin Soto, anything like that, you'll be able to find all the information on there.
Yep, get all the information there. If you are in Brisbane, though, I do know that some of the extra support bands have some tickets available still. That is going to also, Brisbane show is also going to have Nuclear Vision, Void Matter, and We the Hollow. And the Toowoomba show is going to have We the Hollow, Nuclear Vision, and Sang Freud as additional ones there. So these are some really, really big lineups on these shows. Like, you're getting a lot of value for your money there. Before we look at taking it home there, Kyle, do you have anything special coming up?
No, man, I'm
for
going to be doing
Peabody?
a gig review. That'll probably be the next thing. We'll do a gig review for that, and I'll do some filming at that show on the 29th.
Yep.
Other than that, I'm getting away with my mates this weekend. I'm going to go probably demolish myself and not come home in a body bag.
Very, very nice. Very nice. In terms of what we've got going on here, have we posted the next reaction video yet or not?
Mm-mm.
No, we haven't. All right, we might get that up tomorrow then.
That'll be up Friday.
Friday, we have a reaction video for the latest song from Static X. Please don't crucify us. You'll understand when you watch it.
Yeah. I had some,
Ooh,
yeah. I had a
sounds
pretty,
spicy.
yeah.
But other than that,
We're going to get hammered.
Other than that,
Love a
thank
good
you so
reaction
much. Thank you so much to our guests today. We really, really appreciate you guys coming on. Lexi and Cherv from Sin Soto. As I said, go and check out the fucking album.
Do it.
It
Do
is
yourself a favour.
It is nothing short of a masterpiece, and I cannot wait to see what you guys are going to bring to the stage for this New Metal Mayhem
I can't
tour.
wait to see you for the first time.
I know for a fact that you are going to be impressing fans out there. You're going to make a bunch of new fans on these shows. I guarantee that you're going to be impressing Waylon and Anders. I think they're going to be blown away by what you guys bring. And yeah, Kyle fucking can't wait. I can't wait. I'm so fucking excited for these shows. Just before we take it home, have you got anything last minute that you want to say to the people and the fans that might be watching?
Would you say it how Brad would say it?
Yeah, I would.
Get your fucking New Metal Mayhem tickets, cunts.
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, we just about need a censor
like
button
the
when we
OG.
have Brad on here. This is ridiculous.
Yeah.
This is- but
Just
yeah,
like the
well,
OG.
yeah, no, it's
Just
gonna be
like the
awesome.
OG.
Thank you so much, guys. Thank you everybody for tuning in. Thank you, CJ, for getting in the chat there, and we will catch you guys next time, next week, when we will have some of the guys from Chaosis who are going to be on here. We're really getting to the pointy end of things now.
Yeah.
It
It's
is.
very, very close. So thank you very much for watching. Thank you again to Lexi and Cherv. Thank you to my co-host Kyle. Y'all be rad. Take care of each other, and we will see you next time.
Yeah.
I'm gonna let you in on a secret. This ain't the first time that we've all met. We arrived here on a starship. We are all around you, but you haven't gotten on yet. The awakening, it's upon us. Time to shed the layers of the fear-driven consciousness. This reality, it cannot crumble quick enough. Let's begin, shake your skin, pull the blast off. Take your fucking mask off, cast off. We cannot reverse when you ignore